All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Kyle Teegarden. I'm a product manager here at Microsoft on the Azure Cache for Redis team. And we have a quick stand-up today to talk about some new updates to our enterprise tier of Azure Cache for Redis that we're really excited about. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. And beyond this presentation, if you have questions for our team, we always love talking to you. Feel free to email us at the email address listed there. Yeah, like I said, we love to get feedback, hear any feature requests, problems you're having. We'd like to hear it all. So feel free to reach out to us. This is meant to be bi-directional. And just as a reminder of what Azure Cache Redis does, Azure Cache Redis is just managed Redis on Azure. If you haven't used Redis, it's an awesome tool, incredibly popular, really versatile, most commonly used as either a distributed cache. So that's kind of the core use case, that's traditional use case. So caching things like database queries to make them much faster. So using things like cache-aside architectures or write or read-through architectures. And then we've seen growing use for Redis as both a data store and also for messaging use cases. So data store would be things like a user session store. So like a shopping cart, a retail shopping cart is the great example of this, where you store data temporarily that's associated with the user. So that's becoming quite popular. And then messaging is things like PubSub, or there's a function in Redis called Redis Streams, which is much like Kafka in some ways. So queued messaging, that kind of thing. And then we see a lot of use cases that are growing for Redis with things like using Redis as a semantic cache in front of an LLM, or even vector similarity search. So using embeddings vectors from a AI model and then storing those embeddings in Redis and searching them also within Redis. So very versatile, growing number of use cases and growing in popularity across both our cloud and other clouds as well. So just to kind of touch on that to give us a base with things, today we're going to talk about two things. So the first thing, we're going to talk about some new SKUs for our enterprise tier that we're very excited about. And the second thing is talking about support for Redis 7.2, which is now available in preview. So first, going over Azure Cache for Redis Enterprise. So right now in our service, we actually have 5 tiers. We have our basic tier, our standard tier, and our premium tier. And these are all built on just kind of vanilla open source Redis. And then we have our enterprise and enterprise flash tiers. And these are built on Redis Enterprise. And Redis Enterprise is totally compatible with Redis. It's just a more advanced version that has a lot of really useful features. So I highlighted a few of those here. The big ones are really better performance. So vanilla Redis is limited in being single threaded, meaning if you run a Redis instance on like a 32 vCPU VM, you're really only using one of those vCPUs for the core Redis process. The other vCPUs can be used for other things like the operating system, antivirus, things like that. So they're not totally wasted. But once you get past a point, like if you get to 32 vCPUs, you're not using most of those vCPUs. Like maybe you're using 3 or 4 out of the 32. And that's not really efficient either from a performance standpoint or from a cost standpoint. So what Azure Cache Redis Enterprise can do is actually take advantage of multiple cores on a single VM. Basically, you're sharding within a VM, or clustering is the Redis term, within a VM, as opposed to across multiple VMs. And there's a lot of great performance benefits that come from that. Like we see huge performance gains, especially on larger VMs. And that also means better network bandwidth and a lot of other stability benefits as well. So both better performance and also generally we see more stable connections because of how Redis Enterprise is architected. So a lot of customers love it for these reasons. And then there's features as part of Redis Enterprise as well. So all of this is kind of tied into what's being branded as Redis Stack, which is not just the core Redis capabilities, but also things like Redis Search and JSON, time series, Bloom, Redis on Flash. So new data types, ability to do things like use native JSON objects within Redis. So it's a little more like NoSQL database-y. And then Redis Search is really popular and has exploded in popularity, both as a secondary index for your Redis instance. So instead of looking up keys by their specific name, you can actually search among keys. So it's like every key with this prefix or every key with this geotag. So a really useful secondary index. And then Redis search also has vector search capabilities that have become increasingly valuable in this world of AI that we live in. So searching and comparing the similarity of embeddings vectors is a really big use case. And then I mentioned semantic caching, which is another. And that's basically caching the output of an LLM, where when you query an LLM, you use natural language. It's not the specific query like it would be for a database. And so you might ask, please write me a poem about cute puppies. Or you might just ask, write me a poem about cute puppies. The query is technically different, but the meaning is the same. So with something like Redis Enterprise, you actually can cache that query, even though the words are different, you cache it by the semantic meaning. And that makes it way easier to use with LLMs. So a lot of cool stuff that's uniquely part of Redis Enterprise there. And then the last thing is higher availability, right? So Redis Enterprise, you can use active geo-replication, which is incredibly powerful. So it's like active replication across regions, where if I write in region A, those writes are automatically reflected in region B, and also vice versa. So it's like all of your caches that are geo-replicated are constantly being updated from each other. And that can give you up to a 5 nines SLA, which is extremely high. I believe that is the second highest currently on Azure. We're tied with a few other services at 5 nines, and we're only behind Azure DNS, which has a 100% SLA. So we will not be beating that, unfortunately, but very, very high availability in this case. So it's all exciting stuff that we have as part of our enterprise tier. We've seen great adoption of this and a lot of excitement on the part of our customers. And so we've kind of been doubling down on this. And today, the first thing I want to talk about are just new SKUs. And so what we've heard from you all is, hey, these features are awesome. We really want to use this, but there's two problems. One is it's kind of expensive, because formerly the cheapest SKU was E10. And that was like $1,000 a month. And so people are saying, hey, this is great. I'll use it for production, but this is really expensive, especially for dev test scenarios. And so what we've done is added 2 SKUs that are smaller and also cheaper, both for production and the E1 SKU specifically for dev test. So the E5 SKU is a 4 gigabyte cache, so it's smaller, still great for production, just a cheaper starting point or lower price starting point for using these great features. And then the E1 SKU is even lower priced. It's roughly $85 a month. And it's meant specifically for dev test. It does not support active-active because it's just too small, but it's a great place to get started. It supports all the other enterprise features, including vector search. And so it's just a very cost-effective way to get started with all these great features. And so the E1 SKU is in preview. We expect to GA that within the next month. And E5 is of course GA and has been for a few months now. So that's on one end. And then on the other end, the performance advantages of the enterprise tier just scale up as these instances get larger. And so on the other end, we've seen people say, hey, the performance we're getting is awesome. We have a super high performance demanding application. Can we get something that's even bigger? And so we've added our E200 and E400 SKUs, which have even bigger performance. We're talking 64 vCPUs in a single node with 60 shards of Redis, and you can scale that out even further, X5 basically. And so, you're getting up to around 300 parallel vCPUs being used for Redis. So vastly better performance than you'd get with just vanilla Redis. And these are great both for generic high performance applications, and also they're great for Redis search, because Redis search, there's a dependency on having the search index reside on a single node. And so it's better to scale up and use these larger SKUs like an E200, E400 than it is to scale out and use more SKUs. And so these are really effective, especially for the Redis search and vector search use cases. So we're super excited about these. We're seeing good adoption across the board. And the E200 and E400 SKUs, I should mention, are scheduled to go GA tomorrow. So these are also effectively GA. So all available now for production use. Like I said, we're excited to see what you all do with them. All right, so that I said there are 2 announcements. So that was the first announcement, just a new set of SKUs that should make things more flexible and easier for you all to use. And then the second announcement is support for Redis 7.2. So this is a pretty big update for us because in the past, the latest version we offered was 6.0, which is a few years out of date at this point. And we always pull in security updates and several stability updates from newer versions and to the older versions that we offer. So it's not like it's that out of date, but it doesn't have some of the features of newer versions. And so we're excited to offer Redis 7.2 in preview, which offers a lot of features both from 7.2 and then from 7.0 and 6.2, which we're all supporting for the first time as well. And so some of the big things here are new geospatial commands, where you can actually search within a defined bounding box, like a polygonal bounding box. So, if you have geo information tagged to your keys and you want to say, okay, I want to find all the keys that are within this specific area of Seattle, you can do that. And you can actually draw a really well-defined bounding box in Redis where you can search just things in that space. So it's much more fine-grained and a lot of cool use cases from doing that. Personally, I think that the geospatial command feature set in Redis is underrated. It's actually really powerful, and in some ways, people haven't found it yet. And then there's a lot of performance benefits, both from 7.2 and also from 7.0. The most significant is that PubSub is now sharded. So it used to be that to do PubSub, publish and subscribe on Redis, it all happened on a single shard. And that was just because of some limitations in how it was designed. 7.2 means that you can do PubSub across multiple shards, which means if you're using a really high performance PubSub type of workload, it's now much easier to run that in Redis. So you're no longer constrained by a single shard. And then there's other performance, especially to Redis on Flash. There's a new query engine that's being used there that's much more performant, and a variety of other smaller kind of performance improvements for things like sorted sets and a lot of other commands as well. So definitely some great things about performance. And then one other thing to mention is that with 7.2, we're rolling out support for the Redis Protocol 3. It's called RESP 3. That likely won't affect your application right now, but is great for the future. It's all backwards compatible with the former protocol, which is called RESP 2, but RESP 3 gives you access to much richer data types that can be returned. And so clients are rolling out support for this over time, and they're going to provide a much richer experience with RESP 3 compared to RESP 2. And so in a few clients, you'll already get the benefits of this. In other clients, that will roll out over time. And so upgrading to 7.2 enables RESP 3, and you'll see the benefits of that in the future. A few things that are not yet available with this update. So one is Redis data integration, or RDI. And that's a really cool feature that Redis is working on to make it easier to integrate databases with Redis. It's kind of like a change data capture scenario with Redis. We're really interested in that too. We're in discussions about how to implement that, but not available as of yet. Stay tuned for more details there. And then the other thing that we haven't done yet is Redis Query Engine, which is a way to boost the performance of Redis search even further. And again, not yet supported. Look to future updates for more news about that. But just wanted to call those things out as not yet supported. I believe both of those are in preview on the Redis side. So normally we wait till these things are GA before we add them to our service. Okay, so let me move on. So yeah, great things about Redis 7.2. It's a great update. We're really excited. We've seen good usage in the preview. I think that another thing to mention is just a new approach to how we handle these updates. And if you're a longtime user of Azure Cache Redis, you might have noticed that sometimes we, put this delicately, sometimes people spend far too long on old versions. And sometimes we don't offer the new versions fast enough. to be completely transparent. And so I think for multiple reasons, like one, to provide a better experience to all of you, our customers, we want to offer new versions faster. And two, running on old versions, we try to make that as secure as possible by backporting security fixes, but it's always better to be on a later version. So it can be a risk, both the security and stability, to run on older versions. And so with the enterprise tier moving forward, our plan is to make upgrades both much more frequent and also more automatic. And so basically the approach that we're taking here is we're providing the ability to manually upgrade your Redis version if it's a major version upgrade. So like right now, if you're running Redis 6.0 on your enterprise cache, we've actually given you a button that I'll show you in a bit where you can trigger an update to Redis 7.2. And that's all during the preview of Redis 7.2. Once we GA Redis 7.2, we will actually automatically upgrade your instance. After we've made sure that breaking changes are minimized and everything it seems to be working in the preview, we'll declare GA and automatically upgrade every cache. But we'll also give you the option to defer this upgrade even further, so you have the chance to test things. If you're worried about anything, you just want to be extra sure, we'll give you another 3 months past the GA before we automatically upgrade you, so you have that time to test and to be confident. And so you can see the timeline here on the right. Basically, the way it works is we declare preview of a new major version. So right now it's 7.2. The next major version will be 8.0 most likely. And once we declare that preview, you'll have at least 3 months to manually upgrade. Like we won't upgrade for you, you can manually upgrade. And then after 3 months plus, we'll declare GA once it's stable, and then migrate everybody except people who have deferred. And then at least 3 months after that, we'll migrate people who have deferred. So it's kind of a staged approach that we're doing moving forward. And a few kind of notes here. One is that this process applies to major versions, because those are typically ones that if they have any small breaking changes, they're in the major versions, not the minor versions. And so, like I said, this is like from version 6 to version 7, version 7 to version 8. For minor versions, so like 7.2 to 7.4 or 6.0 to 6.2, those will likely be done in the background unless we see that there are breaking changes, and then we might put that into this process as well. And so that's kind of one side where this is all going to be much more automatic and guided than it was in the past. But on the other side, we also expect to have support for new versions much faster, right? Version 6.0 has been around for a couple of years. Version 7.2 came out, I want to say roughly 6 months ago. So it's not too old. There already is version 7.4 that just was released. I think they had the final release candidate for that like a month ago or so. And so moving forward, we do expect to offer those newer versions far sooner. And some of that is just our close relationship with Redis Inc. And also just on our end, responding to feedback that people would like these newer versions sooner. And so that is very much our approach moving forward. And you'll hear more about this in the next couple months as well. Okay, I've said a lot. If people have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And then I think the next thing is I'm going to show a demo of what all of this looks like. So I'm going to pull up my own screen. Okay. Let's see if this is working here. All right. And I have to remember to share. Okay. It looks like people can see this. So, a few things to show. I think one thing is just showing what the new SKUs look like. Go through our menu here. And you can either go through the Azure Cache for Redis page or the Redis Enterprise page. They end up in the same place. And so what you can see is if I go to the enterprise tier, you'll see some new options. So we have the E1 cache that's in preview, E5 that has been GA'd, and then the E200 and E400, 200 and 400 gig caches respectively. These still show preview, but like I said, the plan is to GA this tomorrow. So it should be GA momentarily. And so these are just new options available for you that can easily be provisioned in the portal or via CLI, Terraform, all of those. Okay, so let me go to this resource group. And here you can see that I have two instances. I believe these are both E5s. One that I've already upgraded to Redis 7.2. And you see the upgrade button is grayed out here since it's already been upgraded. And if I go to the properties tab, you can see that I'm running 7.2 in preview. And if I go to the other one, which is one I just created, this is also an E5, same region. When you create it at this point, it runs Redis 6.0. So it says 6.0 here. And what I can do to upgrade is really simple. I just hit the upgrade button and it pops up this window saying, okay, we're going to upgrade you, letting you know that once it's upgraded, it can't be downgraded. And I just click start upgrade and it'll start the upgrade process. Sometimes it takes longer than others. Typically, it just takes a few minutes to complete the upgrade. So it's all very quick. It's all in place. Your data is not lost. So it's all quite straightforward. And I believe we don't have CLI or PowerShell support for this yet, but we should very soon. And so look to our docs if you prefer to do it via the CLI. We have REST API support, of course, for this. And I think actually just completed. Yep, so successfully upgraded Redis version. So it took maybe 20 seconds to do the upgrade. And we go to properties, and looks like it hasn't refreshed yet. Let's see if it'll refresh. Yep, Redis 7.2 preview. So it's easy as that. It's really straightforward, like I said, and gives you some nice features and performance boost as well. So like I said, moving forward, we are planning on using this button much more, and you'll see these upgrades come a little sooner as well. And we're excited about what that's going to mean for our service and for our customers. Cool. That pretty much sums things up. Let me jump back to the slide deck. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you all for coming. Hopefully this was helpful in seeing a little peek at what's next and some of the latest updates. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at the email address listed there. And we have these community calls roughly monthly, so check out the next one. We always have fun things coming down the pipe, and we have a lot of exciting stuff coming in the next couple months. So we're very excited to work with you all and see what you can do with our product. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And like I said, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.